I'd like to call to order a special meeting. We are the 2,382nd meeting of the Darien Police Commission. Acceptance of minutes. We have two sets of minutes.
I move to approve November 6th and November 20th.
Second.
I'll second on the 6th. I was absent on the 20th.
I will second and vote on the 20th.
Aye.
Okay. Correspondence. Chief.
Okay, correspondence, we have a few things. We have a thank you letter from a Darien resident, Devon Road, who met one of our new officers, Matthew Ackerman, on November 23rd. Very nice letter saying he was thoughtful, kind, and considerate. Thank you for keeping our neighborhood safe and friendly. And it doesn't say exactly what the officer did, but whatever he did, it was a fine job nonetheless.
He was thoughtful, kind, and considerate.
As all our officers are, hopefully. We have a correspondence here from Kylie Werner from West Avenue. I'm not sure how old Kylie is, but she drew some pictures here as well. She's requesting that we keep an eye on Woodland Park with dogs off the leash, that she walks her dog in there on the leash. And so she's just asking us to keep an extra eye on Woodland Park, as the animal control officer often does. But we're thankful that Kylie took the time to send us a letter and also draw us a picture.
By the way, I believe that is she and a police high-fiving each other.
High-fiving a police officer in the letter, so. Well done, much appreciated. That's what we have for correspondence.
Excellent. No.
I have one, this might be under traffic. This is under traffic.
Okay.
We'll hold that in abeyance.
Okay. Department activity, Captain?
Department activity, these are statistics from November 20th through yesterday. November 21st, a member of the YMCA had money and credit cards stolen from his locker while he was using the facility. On November 23rd at approximately 2 a.m., a 37-year-old Stanford man was arrested for DWI after his vehicle was observed being operated in an erratic manner. Also on November 23rd, officers responded to a report of an underage drinking party on Red Barn Road. The investigation is being followed up by the Youth Division. November 23rd, a 59-year-old Darien resident was arrested for a criminal violation of a restraining order. November 24th, approximately 10:30 p.m., 43-year-old Norwalk man was arrested for DWI after his vehicle was observed being operated in an erratic manner. November 27th, a Darien resident reported that 2 of his personal checks that he had placed in the mail were washed, rewritten, and cashed by someone other than who they were intended for. November 28th, during the early morning hours, a 23-year-old Darien man was arrested for trespassing after he entered someone else's home and passed out from intoxication. November 28th, several officers staffed the Thanksgiving Day football game at Darien High School, which had several thousand in attendance. November 28th, 46-year-old Bridgeport man was arrested for a domestic violence incident that took place at a West Avenue residence. December 4th, 2 suspects stole credit cards from an unattended wallet of an employee working at a post-road business. December 6th, approximately 1 a.m., a 53-year-old Norwalk woman was arrested for DWI after her vehicle was observed being operated in an erratic manner. December 7th, an elderly Darien man fell victim to a computer scam in which he suffered a financial loss in excess of $20,000. December 7th, a resident in the Norotan section of town had a package stolen from the front of the residence. Also on the 7th, officers participated in another successful Cops and Kids event. From the period of November 25th to December 2nd, we participated in the National Seatbelt Enforcement Campaign, which targets drivers not using proper restraint systems. Beginning December 1st, the all-night parking ban has gone into effect. From the period of November 20th to December 10th, we received reports of 4 car burglaries of unlocked vehicles at various locations through town. No stolen vehicles. 216 traffic stops were conducted and 110 motor vehicle infractions were issued. And then also during that period, we had 23 motor vehicle accidents, 3 involving minor injuries, the majority of them occurring on a post road.
23 MVAs, Jerry.
Correct.
Okay. Not getting less busy. Old business. Clearly have a full slate there. The tattoo potential to modify our general orders. Do you want to do?
Just to recap, we had members of the Darien Police Association here at our last meeting requesting of the commission that they consider relaxing the tattoo policy that we currently have under our general orders. Our current policy is that visible tattoos must be covered at times that officers work. So effectively, the officers who have tattoos on their arms, they either wear long sleeves during the summer or they wear some kind of covering sleeve. Now, officers have said that they've gotten questions that if they got burned or when they're wearing these sleeves, it's either flesh colored or they're black, they do get requests as to why they're wearing these socks on their sleeves. The tattoo issue comes up time and time again here. In the 36 years that I've been here, it's been probably discussed for 30 of those 36 years. The association was asking the commission to reconsider the tattoo policy. I think there was a robust discussion during that last meeting. I'm sure that the commission by this time has had the time to contemplate whether we want to relax this policy. And I'd be looking for a charge from the commission as to if you think the general order should be relaxed, to direct me to start in that direction and draft a potential general order revision that would address that.
Chief, it would be a temporary, we'd have a trial period for that.
Correct. Anything of this magnitude that we are changing the general orders would be implemented on a trial period, either a 6-month or a year trial period with the full right of the commission to rescind the general order if they so choose.
I also think it's worth noting that, and I don't know how many towns are listed, but of all the surrounding towns, the only 3 towns who are with the tattoo policy similar to ours is Monroe and Ridgefield. New Canaan, all of the Westport, all have the policy that we are potentially going to.
Or a similar policy.
Or similar.
Any policy that I might craft or draft form for the commission would be probably best practice for as many departments across the country that I can find, ones that have worked well, ones that they haven't identified any pitfalls. One basic tenet of the any proposed change here would be that the chief of police and the commission would reserve the right for content on tattoos unilaterally with no chance of any type of redress. If the officer came in with a tattoo request that they wanted to get, and if the answer was no, the answer rests with the chief of police that the answer is no based on content. If so charged, we'll start that post haste.
I would, yes, we don't have to vote, but I think we send you in the direction of drafting something that we can ultimately review and ponder and then vote on. Is that satisfactory?
Done.
All good, everybody? Scheduling and the Yates plan with our steady shift components. Again, we had a robust discussion and presentation at the last meeting.
Just again to recap for folks that were here and for folks that maybe weren't watching, I don't think TV was here last time, so we'll revisit it again. For the entire 36 years that I have worked here, and I think for 5 or 6 or at least 7 years before that, we had worked what was called the Yates Plan. Tom Yates was an officer here. He was our record sergeant who devised this plan. When I first came, all uniformed officers worked around the clock. You worked all 3 shifts and you rotated every 3 or 4 days to the next shift. In the tenure of Chief Anderson #1, the Yates Plan was modified somewhat where we had a permanent midnight shift and all other uniformed officers rotated simply days and evenings back and forth. So if you work midnights, you work steady midnights. The Police Association has come to the commission and has asked for a modification to the Yates Plan. Would not change the days that the officers worked, the times that the officers worked, or any other facet of the Yates Plan, except they would be working mostly a steady shift. Just a slight modification again. So instead of having all officers, non-midnight officers, rotating days and evenings, there would be a component of officers who would work steady days exclusively. There would be a complement of officers who would work steady evenings exclusively. And there would be a small component of officers that would continue to swing back and forth between the day and evening tour. I have identified no downside to the modification of the Yates Plan. I do like to have happy employees as far as possible and as far as reasonable. Again, if we implement this, it would have to be done on a trial basis. I've made it clear to the Police Association that we would be monitoring frequency and distribution to see if there was any impact on staffing, either from illness or vacations or overlapping, that we would watch this again for 6 months or a year on this plan before it would ever be final. I see no downside. I don't believe the captains see any downside.
No, again, we had a robust
Plan.
discussion and presentation at the last meeting, so I think this one we could actually vote on. Can I-
Correct.
So I move that we move scheduling to steady shifts, again, on a trial basis. Anything like this, I think is best on a trial basis, if that is okay. And do you want a start date, or should do you decide when to implement it?
I think probably we want to start at July 1st.
It sounded like the most reasonable.
We're bidding
Okay.
now for shifts.
Is that when the schedule turns over?
Yeah.
3 months.
Okay,
Every 3 months?
Officers bid for 3-month cycles, but they bid 2 cycles at a time. So you're bidding every 6 months, but you're bidding for 2 3-month cycles.
well, I don't know that we need to put a date in from our, but I would move that we allow you to schedule whenever it's feasibly possible, steady shifts.
And the only request that I would have for the commission, that you would put a time frame on this trial. I think a year probably, 6 months would probably be too little. I think a year would be an appropriate trial period for this.
On a 1-year trial basis.
But I guess, Chief, if it's not working, we give you the authority to change it. So if in 6 months it turns out that this is a disaster, right, you don't want to continue with it, do you?
I think if we agreed to a 1-year trial, we should probably maintain that.
Okay.
I don't envision there be any significant impact, but I do want the commission to reserve that right, that if we do identify there's problems, that we do have the ability to return to what we have.
Okay.
And I think once the vacations are in place for that far out, it's real difficult to reschedule if we were to rescind the program.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Pear Tree Point Building Project, another topic we discussed at length at the last meeting, but we need to revisit that as well, because things keep moving around.
Okay. And I'm assuming that most of the folks here that are not regular attendees at our meeting are here for the Pear Tree Point discussion. I appreciate you coming. You heard me say time and time again that I think an educated consumer is our best customer. This is how government is supposed to work. I am perfectly happy to discuss this issue, as the commission is as well. We're looking for every opportunity to provide the best service to the town of Darien that the police department can muster. That is our consistent theme. That is the truth. There's no shading of that. We are looking to provide the best service we can to the town of Darien. Quite frankly, when I was first approached on the Pear Tree Point project, any component of the police department being involved, I never really thought it would be a contentious issue. In 1994, I believe, we got space. 2004, correct. We got space in the Pear Tree Point building, current building, for a police office and storage area. That was partially washed away by storms, and we never got back what we had. We were asked if we were looking, or would we want to maintain space in the building at the Pear Tree Point current building. The answer was yes. That's how this discussion started. It has now turned into something different, and that's why we're here tonight, to have the discussion.
Well, and just, again, we're on TV, and people seem to have a lot of questions. We currently maintain, and if I get any of this wrong, a storage space I'm calling it the pavilion, I don't know what, and because it was washed away, the boat club carved out some space at the other, in their building.
In their club, right.
Okay. Well, obviously, we are a stakeholder, and I think an important stakeholder in Pear Tree Point, which is why they brought us in, I don't know, 6 months, a year ago, to ask us if we wanted to maintain our space. And clearly the answer is absolutely. And we're certainly grateful to the boat club for their partnership, but I think we're looking at this as an opportunity. We are a stakeholder, and if people are talking about potentially redoing the site, whether it's the building, all the other things. We clearly want to be part of that conversation. I think it is incumbent upon us to kind of look, what are our needs today? What are our needs 10 years from now? It's a good catalyst to our strategic planning. I think any planning process should, we should, again, look to today and the future. We thought we were just getting our space back. It's obviously now morphed into a slightly more complicated question. So I know Don put in writing, finally, although we've been in discussions for 6 months to a year, kind of put in writing what we thought maybe 2 months ago. I think it would behoove us to take another swipe at a white paper. Maybe we should have done this before, but I didn't think it was, I thought we were kind of set. But now we're going to take a step back. I'm hoping, and I don't know if there's somebody here in the room that can answer the question. I'm hoping we have a little time. I don't know whether they're still going through regulatory approvals or coastal reviews or engineering studies that gives us just a little window to really dig into, what services are we currently providing? Is it the best? Can we do better? What does 10 years from now look like? It doesn't mean we're not delivering great service. It doesn't mean that there aren't alternatives to whatever's being presented, but I think for us, we are going to take this opportunity in the planning process to really look at it hard, gather the Marine Division, and I think it's totally appropriate for us to do that, enter into that exercise, is my sense of the commissioners.
I believe that all we wanted was to maintain the status quo. The police department is not initiating any policy moves here. The police department wants to participate in whatever happens at Pear Tree Point Beach. We are simply trying to maintain the status quo. We have had a footprint there since '04, and would like to maintain a footprint there in the most efficient fashion.
Yes, and what exactly that looks like, I think, we have some work to do, and we will put it into the mix of people who are, planning this site. We're clearly a stakeholder, we're not the stakeholder, but we would like our space, and I think, we'll see what comes out of our analysis. Jamie, do you have?
Allow me to-
Yes, I would, because and to be fair, we discussed this at our last committee meeting. Tom wasn't there, so we are not new to this, because we've been talking for a while, but the deep dive is new for us.
That's great. Thank you very much. We appreciate the commission taking up the question. I think you do have some time. I'm not going to say unlimited time, and I apologize, I can't see you.
That's right.
Our camera operator. We are in the process, or the committee's in the process of answering a series of questions, coastal engineering, soil borings, things like that. So there's a bit of time for the commission to dive as deeply as you want to in the needs of the Marine Division and the police department in a holistic way. And I appreciate that you'll be thinking about that, not only for today, but for the future. What might be different today than from 2004? I wouldn't say might, it is different. We have information about what FEMA will and will not allow in the space that the police currently occupies as storage. And storage is the key word. What is allowed is unfinished storage space on the ground level of a building that is subject to the regulations under the VE zone, which Pear Tree Point Beach is in the VE zone. The only three components that you can have in that space are unfinished storage, building access, either a door, a stairwell,
Stairway.
or an elevator's included, or parking. But we had our planning and zoning director go back to DEEP and confirm that even keeping a desk and chairs in this unfinished garage-like, as she described it, space, is not in the spirit of the unfinished space. It starts to go down the path of pushing the envelope on occupancy, if you will. And the space is not intended for human occupancy. You can still keep small gas cans. I think there's some oil that I understand is kept down there at the moment for the boat vehicle. But all that has to be up as high as can possibly be stored. It can't be on the grade level. And if there are any lights or electrical requirements, those also have to be as high off the grade as the building code will allow. So there are impediments to utilizing that space as office space.
For offices.
So your choice, you can keep the status quo and keep the space at the boat club. They've been very generous to you, but now's the time to reaffirm how exactly you want to position the Marine Division for the future, given those parameters that I just laid out. So I'm very happy to answer any other detailed questions you have about the project itself. We have a member of the building committee here, members of the planning and zoning, the Parks and Rec Commission are here. So happy to assist you in whatever.
No, I think,
makes
well,
sense.
I won't speak for the other commissioners. That was just timing that we do have time, a little, not endless, but as you go through your engineering and test boring that we can, and I think I will say even without this, it's been a great catalyst for us to, just entertain our planning process. The Marine Division, we've been in our current configuration separate since 2014 with Hurricane Sandy. So I think it's a good discipline and a good exercise for us to take this opportunity, whether it comes to pass and, whether we're still existing, that's irrelevant to we should be doing a strategic plan anyway. So I'm perfectly happy that the time has come. We have a new chief, we have a new chairman of the police commission, and it's a good 2 new captains. So hopefully it won't take us forever, but I'd like to, for instance, see what other towns have. I mean, we haven't done any of this. Maybe there are other alternatives. We're just beginning this, but we'll try to provide your committee with I don't know, where's Parks and Rec?
Yeah, if I could just take another moment to be clear on process, because process matters. What we would be looking for is an affirmative statement from the police commission about whatever you'd like to see, whatever you would like the Parks and Rec Commission to consider. Your thoughts will likely then have to translate into a change of the charge or not of the work that the building committee is doing, but the relationship here is really between the police commission and the Parks and Rec Commission.
Perfect. Thank you for that. But
Katie,
yes.
will you connect us via email? I'd love to kind of get part of that planning process with the Park Commission. As you know, 8 years on planning and zoning, done many of these coastal plans,
you have.
both public, private, large, small things. I'm happy to
Very
provide
happy
as a
to do so.
resource. Great.
Yep.
I think that's all we have. I'm happy to, if anyone has any other, besides Jamie, I know a lot of people are here. I don't know if they were here just to hear what we said or they wanted to make a comment, but you're free to do so. Hearing nothing, we'll move to new business. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Mark Banks, and I am on the building committee.
Oh, good.
And I've listened closely to the meetings and what Captain Anderson has said. And I just, in your deliberations, I had one thought, and I really don't know if it's feasible or not, but you don't know yet which direction the project is heading. And I listened to Captain Anderson say that the men, for the most part, are out on the water. There are probably a couple of incidences a year, drunk driving or drugs, which necessitate coming back to the headquarters. But for the most part, they're patrolling, issuing tickets, making rescues and whatnot. And there might be a couple, 2 or 3 times a year, he mentioned, there might be accident incidents where, you know, they have to meet with people on shore. And I was just thinking, given that we don't know what direction the project is taking, I wondered if we could consider something like a mobile, and I don't know what to call it, investigation van or something that could be utilized actually throughout the town, but given that the police are stationed at the water 3 months of the year, I just wondered if that would, you know, it still may be fairly costly, but probably a lot less than building something if we were going that direction. And it could be utilized the rest of the year as well. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out.
No,
as,
helpful as
possibility.
we, certainly as we, I will call it a strategic plan. I don't know exactly what to call it. I mean, we will look at what the office is used for, and, you know, someone, you know, obviously is looking at this holistically, and if there are alternatives, but we will start with kind of a needs assessment, and then someone go from there. Go ahead.
Hi, Krista McNamara from the Building Committee. I just wanted to clarify, Chief Anderson, to confirm that you were responsible for the waterfront 12 months a year, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't want to cut anyone off. We have plenty of time. All right, new business. From one good topic to another, traffic.
Actually, this is a fairly easy one, at least for the beginning.
Excellent.
As many of our roads are, they predate internal combustion. And it's true. Weston Leroy has been there since the advent of the railroad, clearly. We do have a request from the First Selectman's office to potentially look to adding an exclusive turning phase at that intersection. It does bottle up on occasion, especially at train traffic time.
So if you're going under the train trestle
Up.
from town, and the new development is on your left.
On your left.
It's almost impossible to take a left there, correct?
Right. Now,
And then it backs up when the train comes in.
I'm certainly willing, or a new traffic advisory to the commission, Captain Shredders will be more than happy to work with DPW to check the feasibility of that and the cost potential to get that done. It's just not as easy as throwing up a green arrow and putting a light bulb inside it. It does take a fair amount of planning and equipment upgrades.
You would essentially have to add another lane.
No, what is
Yeah,
actually
that's
being
impossible.
requested is an exclusive left turn arrow,
Okay, just
either
an
a
arrow.
leading or a following green arrow that can clear that intersection out. It is possible that potentially extending the green at certain times on Leroy Avenue might accomplish some of the same things. And it's not a 24-hour type situation. So you look at level of service, traffic engineers actually look at what the queue lengths are at what time of day before they decide or give us ideas of what could be done there. But it all starts with working with the DPW and a traffic engineer to tell us what we have and what our potential enhancements are, and then after that, what a cost might be to do something like that. Traffic signalization is not inexpensive, as everyone knows. But we're more than happy to do that. If the commission so directs, we will work on that as well.
I think that would be a useful thing to look at, because it certainly at the peak times, and people are darting across, and
And as a collateral issue, folks probably know that the Norotan Heights projects up there, Federal Realty and the Palmer's project, part and parcel of that, where the developers are giving us enhanced signalization as part of their project, which should move traffic better through the Norotan Heights area. So a lot of times we couple it with development, and the developer's required to do that. The developer there that did the development on the corner with the condos was not of sufficient scope to add that expense to their project. But we do like to work with developers to get them to get enhancements to the town and a partnership type deal. So.
Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, though, for Pemberton, we did require them to do a traffic study at Leroy and West.
Traffic study, yes.
Yeah.
Correct. But there's no real traffic impact of that project, at least
Yeah.
that I've seen so far.
the train schedule.
So we will, we'll get with DPW and we'll
Excellent.
investigate that and bring it back to the commission.
Okay. Any other new business? We can't add to special meeting, so with that, we will adjourn and go into executive session, and we will be taking no votes, or there will be no discussion after,
We'll not
correct?
be voting, not reconvening in public session.
Okay.